Tuesday was a big day in Providence. The $3.77 million Fleet Skating Center opened to much fanfare. Mayor Vincent Cianci, the driving force behind the project, led the ceremonies. The rink, larger than the skating rink at Rockefeller Center in New York City, is expected to turn a profit from the very beginning, and officials say it's not expected to cost taxpayers a penny. Good morning, I'm Jack White and this is Newsmakers. Mayor Cianci has been busy. Fresh back from Italy, he helped break ground for a new hotel in Providence on Monday, and on Tuesday, it was the skating rink. Joining us this morning to discuss all of that and more is Providence Mayor Vincent Cianci. Our news panelist today is Scott McKay of the Providence Journal. Mayor, nice to see you again.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here at Channel 12.
The skating rink really, as those pictures showed us, is really a beautiful thing. Now, I have a question about the estimates of how many people will use it, however. We have heard that we think 166,000 people will use it in the first year. Now, the Rockefeller Center rink in New York City, a little bit bigger than Providence, only has about 250,000 people using that a year in that neighborhood. Is that projection for Providence a little high?
No, I don't believe so. First of all, you have to remember that the rink in Rockefeller Center is 1/3 the size of the one in Providence. And number two, New York is a very expensive place to skate if you compare the prices. And number three, New York is a congested activity, and it's really not some people actually live in neighborhoods in New York City, in the downtown. But I think that we'll have more of a family orientation, more of a draw because of the activities that the city of Providence is providing. I think we'll outdraw Rockefeller Center, because if they're doing 250 and we're 3 times the size and they're predicting 166 for us, I think we can certainly equal them. Because, and maybe not in revenues, because they charge like crazy. Maybe that's why they only get 250,000 people.
Okay, Scott?
One thing about the rink, we love it, it looks great, but there's been some hints that it might be a drain on the taxpayer. For instance, I know the Providence Review Commission, some people have said, well, hockey teams and figure skating teams want to use enclosed arenas. They don't want to rent ice that's outdoors. What do you say to that?
First of all, as you know, Scott, that was never built or intended to be built for hockey.
Right.
In fact, hockey is not allowed. This is a skating rink for people who want to enjoy it and use it and become experts at figure skating and just have fun. As far as ice skating, for figure skating purposes, it's for rent. Also, group sales are available. You have to understand that this cost us $3.77 million to build. Fleet Bank has given us a non-recourse loan for the difference in what we were able to raise from private corporations and what the shortfall was. Now that loan is non-recourse, meaning it doesn't have to be paid back, but we are going to attempt to pay it back. And the figures are that when we receive the revenues from the rents and from the skating and the ice sharpening, without charging people big money, that it will be paid off in a normal, timely period. So I have every confidence that it's going to be a very great success. And the Providence Review Commission, I don't think that they really know all the facts, because I can tell you that I could not release some of the donors' names. Like Alan Sean Feinstein came in at the last minute with $500,000. Fleet was $500,000. The Wasserman family was $200,000. The Providence Journal, $100,000. CVS, $100,000. Textron, and like the Chase family. And Terry Murray and I asked a lot of those people to donate. So there is absolutely no dollars of taxpayers' money in that as an equity investment.
And also, I think Nortec, $150,000.
Nortec, how could I forget them? They're one of the biggest donators.
Just real quick, when it's not warm enough to have ice there, just what are some of the other events that we might see there?
Oh, an awful lot of things. In fact, the management company predicts that, as in other ice rinks around the country, that it'll do probably better revenue-wise in the off months than on the on months. And that is because it'll be rented out for things like ballroom dancing, concerts. I know that one convention wants to use it for a dinner under the stars. It'll be used for philharmonic events. It'll be used for inline skating, all those kinds of things that admission would be charged for. So when you add it up, the note on this thing is probably $150,000 a year or probably less. That's only $3,000 a week. And if a rink like that can't draw that, then we've got some trouble. But I don't think we do.
On another matter, you are in the latest edition of Newsweek magazine this week, and you're quoted as saying, and this is about the Patriots moving to Hartford, quote, "You can marry an ugly woman for enough money, I guess." Providence, Rhode Island Mayor Vincent Cianci on the decision of Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots, to locate the team in rival city Hartford, Connecticut. Any second thoughts about that kind of a statement?
Yeah, when I was called, I said that you can marry an ugly woman for enough money. I guess I did say that, but I apologized and I maybe misspoke. Hartford's a good city, but it was kind of they left themselves right open, because when the reporter was asking me that question, he was the one who was leading me on. He was saying Hartford's such a city that's a drag and there's nothing going on there but the rent, and how could they possibly go to Hartford? And that's when I made that statement.
Mayor, I have never known a reporter who could entrap you, not once. I know. Go ahead,
Well, we're such a different. What I meant to say was, Bob Kraft always told me, "I'll never go to Hartford." He said that, and I'm describing his description of Hartford: no fan base, too many New York fans, the television market would be messed up. It's a city where there's not much going on. And I've been invited to speak in Hartford on 4 occasions this year to speak about what's going on in Providence, and they admire us, and they like what's happening here. We're a hot Renaissance city, and these people in Connecticut did overpay for that team. I congratulate Bob Kraft. I mean, he's the only guy in America that could get a state government and a city government to pay him $400 million to bring a football team into town. Now, that's a lot of money. So when he's coupled with the fact that he told me he'd never go there, he had to go there for a reason. They didn't change the pavement, or they didn't change the trees in the city.
Right. That indeed is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's time for our first break. We'll be back with more of Newsmakers right after this. Welcome back to Newsmakers. Our next question from Scott McKay.
I know, Mayor, that you last year were chiding Governor Almond for a missed opportunity when the Patriots decided not to come here when those negotiations broke down. But last week the governor said that Rhode Island is not going to spend the kind of money that Connecticut did for the Patriots, and just wondering, the governor said, let's get real. We're just not going to do that. And I'm wondering, do you think Connecticut overpaid, obviously, but do you think that we could ever match what Connecticut gave the Patriots, or even should we as a city and state government?
You know, the reason why Hartford and Connecticut made that offer that could not be refused was for one important reason, that Hartford is the state capital and Hartford is a dying city.
Right.
They need to do something. If you are dying of a heart attack and you go to Rhode Island Hospital, they'll put you in intensive care right away, emergency. That's where Hartford is. Hartford, for instance, let me tell you a little bit, if I can just take a second. I just got back from Florence, where the city of Florence, which is the museum of the world, and they are the curators of that, have picked the city of Providence to partnership with. Why? Because we've got an international reputation as far as respecting our historical buildings, because of preservation, because of the fact that we are, although I brought some over, that's like bringing coals to Newcastle, but also because we're building a tremendous reputation for ourselves with an arts district. So in addition to that, we've taken the long, hard road. The private sector has joined in. Look at this ice rink. 5 new hotels being built. We've invested in a convention center. We've invested in a remodeled and renovated civic center.
Saying Hartford's so low, they'll pay anything just about.
Look at what you could have done last evening, and Jack was saying it earlier. You could have gone to see the opening of Christmas Carol. You can go see Showboat. Those things don't just happen. You can go to see something at AS220. You can go to, we're the only city in building museums. We're building hotels. We're building ice skating rinks, and there's a tremendous amount of self-esteem. Hartford doesn't have that.
And you forgot the Friars, which had the biggest
crowd. And the Friars last night, how can I forget them? I mentioned the Civic Center, but that's why Hartford, Connecticut needs to, I said, you got to buy it. And that's what they're doing. They're buying it, and Kraft's no dummy. Kraft understands that.
Let's touch on a couple of things that you just mentioned about Providence. On Monday, you were there for the groundbreaking of the Courtyard by Marriott, 216-room, 7-story hotel across from the Providence Place Mall, across from the convention center. Are you concerned about that competing with the convention center or any other of the hotels?
I think that it supports the convention center, and that's the reason why our hotel study said we need 5 more of them, and why we'll have 5 in the ground in the next couple of months. The new Hilton Hotel will be built in front of the American Express building. The Renaissance, Marriott Renaissance, will be in the building that we know as the Masonic Temple. They've already come in for their permits. The other hotel is a hotel that the city of Providence is part of, and that is where the current police station is. That will be demolished next month. And an Embassy Suites hotel will be built there, and the police station, which will be state-of-the-art, will be located across 95, right where JR's Fast Lane is. Give them a lot of publicity, because it's going to be closing soon.
Now, how about, there's the Churchill, that would be next to the post
That
office,
is the
and
one-
Ameris Suites?
Yeah, well, the Churchill would be on parcel 12. That is a parcel not too far from the Citizens Bank building. It's a little small, and there is a development group looking, but they have not gotten back to us yet. So I did not include that as one of the 5 in the mix.
Okay.
That would be number 6.
Now, if those 5 came on, along with the Courtyard by Marriott, which obviously is coming online, that would increase the rooms in the city from something like 1,300, double it to over
2,700 rooms in the
Is that
city. Almost 3,000.
Is that what we need? Is that
Oh,
enough?
sure. Because you see, when they built the convention center, remember, we had to build the Westin Hotel, or the state of Rhode Island, and you cannot have a convention center of that size and expect to attract the major conventions if you don't have the proper number of hotel space. Because with the university community that we have here, with the increasing business growth that we've had here and the demand for hotel rooms, with the specialization of us as a tourist center and a destination city, then you add this convention center, you need the rooms. And it's, you know, I've gotten calls from every single hotel chain, every single hotel developer, and they're the ones who are motivating this interest. We haven't gone after them, Jack. They've come after us, and they know what they're doing. I spoke to Bill Marriott of the Marriott hotel chain. He's well aware of the Renaissance project that's going on in this city. They're well aware of the hotel requirements. And with a new airport that was built, I mean, just think about it. This city is on a tremendous roll, and hotels are necessary and needed.
Scott?
Your critics say that while you're a great mayor for downtown and business and the flash and dash of Providence, that one of the problems that you haven't addressed very well is the fact that the schools don't work that well and some of the kids aren't learning up to the grade level they should. I know you're looking for a new school superintendent. What attributes are you looking for in a new superintendent?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Let's first describe what I'm looking for. I've suggested this, and by the way, I've appointed a great school committee. I've also appointed a committee to find a new superintendent, and that's headed by Gordon Gee, the president of Brown University. I asked him to do that, and he's doing it, and he's doing a good job. What I'm looking for is a couple of things. Number one, I'm looking to get a chief executive officer who isn't necessarily an educator. Someone who is a top executive who is sensitive to education.
A Rudy Crew type situation?
Well, something like that. And then on the left hand, if you look at, here's the head, and then on this side I'd put a head of academics, and that person would be responsible for all the teaching and all the raising the all that, and raising the scores. On the other side would be a person who made sure the buses ran on time. You know, the situation is that we have great people, for instance, who Bob Crandall ran American Airlines. I don't think he knew how to fly an airplane, but he ran a great airline. And the fact is, a teacher doesn't necessarily have to be a superintendent. And I think that we ought to let teachers teach, and we shouldn't let them occupy their time or waste their time with all this administrative stuff. So that's what I'm looking for. And you have to understand who we are and where we've come. And when people criticize and say the educational system doesn't work, well, let me remind those people that just in the past 2 years, we've built 350 new classrooms in the city of Providence. Microsoft is our partner in the Lebanon complex, and Microsoft says that that is the most advanced technologically equipped elementary school in America. We just dedicated the B.J. Clanton School. And remember, our school system is 80% multicultural, and it costs us more money to educate kids in the city of Providence than it costs in other places because of the demands of our large system. 3% increase in population in that school system each and every year. And our kids are great kids, and we just need to give them the opportunity. And it's not fair unless we restructure the way we are going to fund education in the state of Rhode Island in the next decade. That's what we have to do. We've got to raise our teachers' salaries. We've got to reduce class size, make schools smaller, not necessarily bigger. And I think we'll improve our educational responsibilities to our kids. And that's my main thrust next election. It isn't skating rinks, and it's not downtown hotels. They'll keep and they'll handle themselves. Education won't.
And with that, it's time for our second break. We'll be back with more of Newsmakers right after this. Welcome back to Newsmakers. Mayor, you mentioned earlier your trip to Florence, Italy. Tell us what you brought back from Florence for the city of Providence and what Providence will be giving to Florence, Italy.
It's a wonderful trip. It was a wonderful idea, and it's something that we thought we'd put together to draw attention to the cultural significance of the city of Providence. We're an art city. We have more artists per capita than any city in America. As you know, we passed legislation so that artists can work without paying taxes, income taxes, or sales taxes in our arts district. We have one of the greatest design schools in the world, Rhode Island School of Design, one of our great assets, and Brown University right here, and Johnson & Wales, because cooking is an art. And so we went to Florence, and we actually opened an office in Florence. And it's all at the expense of the city of Florence. We have the city of Providence now has an office in the Ministry of Culture in Florence, and they pay for it. They give us the space. The reason I went was to see if we couldn't bring together these two cities by forming a partnership and signing a partnership and friendship pact, which I did at the Palazzo Vecchio, which is their city hall. That cleared the way for us to meet with the people who run the famous Uffizi Gallery, which is probably one of the most fascinating places in the world. They've agreed to send over some paintings to the city of Providence. We also have met with the head of the Maggio Musicale Fiorentina, which is the best symphony. They're going to send over opera singers and musicians. In addition to that, we are going to bring over craftsmen, and I visited all of them. These are little shops that have maybe 4 or 5 people who work in it, and they make leather, and they marbleize paper, and they do all the kinds of arts that have been lost. And what a wonderful experience it'll be for our school kids. And the other thing we're going to do is bring over some chefs and make it a very festive occasion. The mayor of Florence will be visiting the city of Providence in January. We then will proceed together to Washington, where we will both address the United States Conference of Mayors. And Providence has been picked as the art city by the United States Conference of Mayors to celebrate for the year 2000. So with our Florence project. So it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for our school children, for our college students, for old, for young, to join in with this exchange with the great city of Florence. We'll send a delegation over to Florence. They've already picked a committee in Florence to Friends of Providence, or support for this organization that we're forming. And it's some top people. The head of the Uffizi Museum is on the committee, the head of the Maggio Musicale, the mayor. So we've made a good impression in Florence. And if you're an art city, look, if you're going to partner with somebody, I mean, it's either it was either Monte Carlo, and I really don't want gambling. So why don't you pick Florence? I mean, they are the curators of the world's art, and they're our new sister and our partner.
And I was impressed with the skating rink. Not bad. Go ahead, Scott.
Say you don't want gambling. Would you rule out really a casino is not really going to help Providence?
Not in my plans, categorically, unequivocally. I have vetoed casino
right.
twice, and I would do it again. Okay. I think with the work that we've done in this city, that would be debilitating to us and not in our cards.
You talked about our great nonprofit institutions, the Browns, Johnson & Wales, PCs. One thing I know, there's another committee of the city council, I believe, taking a look at if they should make some payments in lieu of taxes. Again, these are great for the city. They're great for everybody except the taxpayers of the city who don't get any money out of these institutions. I'm wondering just what's your feeling on that? I know
I always thought they should pay, but you have to understand, Scott, that some years ago they put together an organization called HELP, which is help, education leadership for Providence, health and education leadership, and they do give us money, for instance, but they pick and choose the good projects that they would like to be involved in. So they are not stranded on a hill or in an academic.
They're training your teachers, they're giving health care, they're doing things like that.
Absolutely. But as far as taxes go, you have to understand that we in the central city, because we are the largest city in this region, a lot of our property is tax exempted, and those institutions occupy that real estate. And we're the ones who've got to pay for the trucks, for the fire trucks, light the streets, clean the streets, do all that. And yet the people who work in those facilities leave the city at night and live in the suburbs, and they don't have the responsibility of servicing the institutions. I think there's going to come a time, and we've corrected some of that, Scott, by going
to a tax program.
But that has to be increased. We have to go up to, and get maybe a 50%, the same as Connecticut does, because that money. I love the hospitals and universities. They're the biggest employers, and that's why Providence has the highest paying jobs in Rhode Island, because of the healthcare industry and the college and university community. And
the old joke goes, why we're not a big Fall River, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they say, or Hartford. And,
and with that, it's time for our final break. We'll be back with more of Newsmakers right after this. Welcome back to Newsmakers. Our next question from Scott McKay.
Mayor, you've settled your public safety contracts, I believe, at a cost of around $9 million. And you still got this COLA thing, this pension COLAs hanging over your head. There was a decision last week, I understand, that narrowed the focus of it.
Yes, it did.
In this interminable court case that just never seems to end.
I'm sure that will end up going to the Supreme Court. But I'd like to settle that once and for all.
And you in negotiation with the union leaders
Yes.
to do that?
Yes, I'd like to settle that. I'm not against COLAs, but I'm against massive COLAs and big numbers. I just don't think we can afford it.
Right.
Our pension system, Scott, has done fairly well in comparison to other pension systems around America. We took control of it, and we're proud of the return. But we have to understand that we need to keep reimbursing that pension system if we're going to keep it whole. And unions have got to understand that. I know they work hard. I know that they deserve raises. But the fact is, they have to understand that we cannot afford to pay 6% compounded COLAs for their life expectancy. No one should expect that. Can't afford it.
This recent decision, I think, would allow you to immediately cut back on the pensions for some
correct.
350 people. Are you going to
354.
54. Are you going to do that immediately, or wait until the whole thing's resolved?
I think that it's on my agenda to discuss on Friday with some of my people in the City Hall, and we'll decide what we're going to do with that. But I believe that we're going to follow the court order and immediately make the cut.
We had a very high profile, and we still have a criminal case here in Providence, the Derek Hazard case.
Yes.
For our viewers, he's a 26-year-old man who was convicted of committing a murder in Providence. He says he was in Ohio at the time. A couple of questions about that. The case was reopened due to publicity. You sent detectives to Ohio, or your colonel did in the police department, and invited some ministers to go along as observers. Very unusual, I think, procedure. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes,
Why?
I am. It was my recommendation. That number one, because there was public opprobrium and there were ministers who were raising some questions about the case. It isn't our job to put innocent people in jail. It's our job to find justice for everyone if we can. And the court system, he was convicted. And I got a call from Tracy Breton from the Providence Journal at my house at night, and she told me the story, and I reached the colonel, and I said, well, if they're so strong about it, reinvestigate the case. And we went, and the whole idea about the reinvestigation came about because there was a trooper in New Jersey who the family said stopped Derek Hazard when he was traveling to Ohio. I said immediately send detectives to meet this fellow and check the records, because the defense attorney had not put that into the trial. And even though it's not our job to investigate alibis, it is our job to make sure every person is rendered his due. And I don't want anyone innocent sitting in jail because of our police department or whatever.
See, the police
So
chief
they sent
had a
him
quick
there.
switch on that.
Well, the chief, you have to understand that he didn't have a Douglas MacArthur syndrome. What he had was he was trying to protect me by keeping me out of the case. But that's not my job. I can protect myself. And I used to be a prosecutor, a special assistant attorney general. So I sent those detectives to New Jersey, and I was hoping, for the sake of the boy, that the trooper would have said, yes, it was him, but it was his brother that he identified, not
In New
Derek.
Jersey.
And then the colonel was going to he didn't say he wasn't going to send detectives to Ohio, but I said we should send them. And we sent them, and the ministers, I read the paper, and the ministers said they were interested, and so invite them, send them. And the ministers came back with nothing but accolades for the Providence Police Department and the way it was handled. What we avoided there was a lot of public opprobrium, a lot of resentment in the community, divisions racially, because we have to live, because all we did was say, yes, we believe you, come with us and help us, share our responsibility. We want to make sure that there's no hanky-panky, we're doing the best we can.
Now, the detectives apparently didn't find any new evidence. People had testified at the trial that he might have been in Ohio. So where are we now in the case?
I think that where we are now is probably not a lot different from where we were, but I do know that we have satisfied that we made the extra effort to investigate his alibi, and we'll listen to what the ministers have to say as the week goes on, and we'll also listen to our colonel. But one thing that's noted here is that we worked in harmony.
Okay. Procedurally, I mean, does this information, this new stuff, go to the Attorney General's office? Have you reviewed it?
There's no reason that I got a briefing from the colonel. I'm not going to immerse myself into a criminal matter. I wanted the process to happen.
Been there, done that, right?
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Bought the T-shirt, as a matter of fact. So now let them do it, and it's the Attorney General's responsibility. We present them a body of evidence and say, here, present it to whoever you have to present it to.
Okay. With that, unfortunately, we've run out of time for today. I'd like to thank our guest for joining us here in the studio. He is Providence Mayor Vincent "Buddy" Cianci. Our news panelist today, Scott McKay from the Providence Journal. I'm Jack White. Join us again next week for another edition of Newsmakers.